Hey gang, Samuel Culper here from Forward Observer. Today we're going to discuss the decision advantage, or why SHTF intelligence matters. There's such a huge focus in this community on the tactical aspect of preparedness, and I just hope that the people who make the tactical part their number one priority realize that intelligence is what will inform them of their battle space. If you're developing the ability to shoot, move, and communicate, then do not overlook the intelligence piece. On Thursday, 10 October 2019, I will be giving a presentation on SHTF intelligence, and I'll be doing some Q&A afterward. And I'll put a link in the description with more info. I will see you there. Now, several years ago, I had the great opportunity to train at an elite facility in the Carolinas. And throughout this training session, our instructor continually spoke about the psychological advantages of how and why we do things in a gunfight. And the goal of these courses wasn't just to produce individuals who could shoot, but to graduate individuals who could think and shoot. In other words, to teach people to make sound decisions in a high-stress environment like a gunfight. Human beings are very good at solving problems that we've repeatedly encountered, but we are not very good at solving problems we've never seen before. So the less acquainted or the less experienced you are in tactical environments, the more likely it is that you are going to encounter one of these problems. Now, one of the lessons learned is that complex problems in a tactical scenario create a stack overflow for your brain, and that leads to a potentially fatal error. You've heard of fight or flight, but very few understand that in reality it's fight, flight, or freeze, and we tend to just freeze when we don't know what to do. Our brains really just tend to shut down. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know how to respond. So this is why we train, and more specifically, this is why we seek out training from professionals. Just like humans tend to freeze when they don't know what to do next, we get the same exact effect when there's a lack of information to drive our next decision. Now let's take this concept that information helps a gunfighter to make better decisions faster, and let's move it up one level. A preparedness group, a community security team, or a neighborhood watch needs a brain. They need some kind of central place where information is received. We have to understand the security picture, so we need intelligence collectors. And just like we can't make sound decisions in a firefight without access to information, we can't make sound decisions for family or group security without access to information. You would never go into a firefight wearing a blindfold. Yet I see so many people in this community who are going to be practically blindfolded during the next disaster because they don't understand this concept yet. If you take one of my classes, you're going to see this slide again. It's nothing novel. It's just something that everyone needs to understand. So let's talk about the OODA loop for a second. Now, OODA is an acronym that stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. It was initially developed by Air Force Colonel John Boyd to train fighter pilots in decision making because they have to make split-second decisions that aren't easily correctable. If you've ever taken a high-level tactical shooting course, then you may have heard of this thing called the OODA loop already. So what is the OODA? Well, it's the process by which all humans make decisions. This is how our brain works. Here's how I like to explain the OODA loop. Let's say that you're driving up a road on the interstate and you're going 75 miles an hour. And at the top of that hill, you see brake lights. Vehicles are starting to slam on their brakes. You have just observed this event happen. And now we orient. We say, well, is there a cop up there who's pinging cars in a speed trap as they come over the hill? Is there a wreck? Is there a tire in the road? Is there some obstruction? We don't know. But we orient ourselves to the situation and we figure out, do I need to slam on my brakes? Do I need to swerve off the road to avoid getting in this pileup? Or can I just let my foot off the gas and let gravity work on my inertia? So we decide what we're going to do and then we act. This is how the OODA loop works for an individual's brain. But what I want you to think about is how the OODA loop works for an organization. So we look at this OODA. So we look at this OODA loop and we see that really it's divided into two sections. There's observe and orient, which is intelligence. Okay, observe is intelligence collection. Orient is intelligence analysis. And then there's decide and act. And decide is planning and act is execution. Now, I'm primarily concerned with the first half of this OODA loop because that's my wheelhouse. That's what I've done. The core task of intelligence is informing a commander or informing a decision maker about current or future conditions. So observe and orient exists to help drive the decision. So what I want to get you to think about next, the goal for this video, is to figure out how we can speed up our own OODA loop so that we can make better decisions faster. And in the case of intelligence, what we're achieving by speeding up our OODA loop is a decision advantage for our commander or for our decision makers. The more our commander understands about the enemy situation, the better decisions he can make. The faster he knows, the faster his decisions can be. Now, for a preparedness group or community security team, however your decision-making process works or whoever's responsible for that, we as the intel people need to make sure that they have that information. Or maybe you're like me, you're wearing two hats. I'm an intel guy and an ops guy. But regardless of whatever your situation is, action beats reaction 9 times out of 10. So we want to be the ones who are making the decisions instead of being forced to react to someone else's decisions. Guys, if you take one thing away from this episode, it should be this. Only intelligence gives us this decision advantage. The better and faster we can produce intelligence, the greater the advantage we can produce for ourselves and for our communities. Now, if you take 2 things away from this video, then the second one should be this. Without the ability to observe and orient, in other words, without the ability to gather information and produce intelligence, there is no decision advantage. In a natural disaster or a protracted emergency or conflict, we are going to be faced with tough decisions. And some of these decisions are going to be time sensitive in that we must make a decision soon or we have to make a decision right now. There's no time for collection. There's no time for analysis. We go with what we have, we choose a course of action, and execute. This is especially important for those people who are planning on bugging out. Unless you can develop some kind of early warning, i.e., you leave 15 minutes before some cyber attack happens. If you try to escape a city, or if you try to bug out to another location without intelligence, you risk mission failure. Sometimes people tell me that their bug out trip is 4 or 5 hours long. So X event happens, they say, this is it, this is a trigger for us, we are going to leave. The problem is that without intelligence, that family, that man and his wife and his kids are not going to know what's going on 2 miles down the road or what's on the other side of the hill or what's happening in the next town that they get to. If you bug out without being able to collect intelligence in real time, you are not going to have a decision advantage. You are going to be behind the curve and potentially shocked or surprised by something that you didn't know was happening or conditions that you did not know existed. This is why intelligence is absolutely fundamental if you plan on bugging out. Now, that's made a lot easier by doing an area study, which includes route studies, which can be done now before this SHTF event. The bottom line here is that without intelligence, you are forced to make poorly informed decisions. And we want to make well-informed decisions, especially when it counts. Hey gang, if you like these videos, understand 2 things. First, I'm in the business of helping people because I genuinely enjoy teaching this stuff. If you learned anything from my videos, do me a favor. First, like this video and subscribe to this channel. That helps me reach more people, and the more people I can reach, the better off we all are because of what's going to happen in the future. Plus, you're not going to miss my next video. Second, I run a website called forwardobserver.com where I write intelligence reports about what's going on, and I also teach about SHTF intelligence and security in a training membership called The Pipeline. I'll put a link to the description so you can check it out. I give away a ton of information for free because I want people to understand this stuff and I want people to implement this stuff, but you have to understand writing intelligence reports and teaching intelligence is how I make a living. So if you think I'm good at it, and you know that you need these skills, then check out the link in the description below. Lastly, I signed up for a Patreon account. If you have questions about SHTF intelligence and security topics, then join me on Patreon where I will be answering your questions. You'll have access to an exclusive blog where I write about intelligence operations along with my thoughts on books that I'm currently reading and specifically how those books pertain to what's going to happen in the future, SHTF events, and preparedness. Well, that does it for this video. I appreciate all the love and support, and I hope you put this to good use. Until next time, stay out front.